You may not feel closer to animals because they are simple. You may feel closer to them because people are exhausting to decode. With people, there is always another layer: the tone, the timing, the ego, the status game, the hidden tension behind a casual sentence, the difference between what someone said and what they actually meant. For a highly intelligent person, this is not just conversation. It can become constant translation. Their mind scans for patterns. It notices small changes. It detects the shift in a room before anyone names it. And over time, that kind of awareness can stop feeling like a gift and start feeling like a burden. But with an animal, the signal often feels cleaner. A dog does not smile to hide resentment. A cat does not pretend to agree just to keep the peace. Their needs may still be complex, but their presence is usually less performative, so maybe you are not avoiding connection. Maybe you are avoiding the kind of connection that makes you perform before you are allowed to belong. This is not a video about animals being better than people, and it is not a secret test that says every pet lover has a high IQ. That would miss the point. The real issue is not how much you love animals. It is how much mental work human connection often demands from you. For most people, a conversation is just a conversation, but for certain intelligent minds, it becomes a system of signals. They are not only listening to words, they are tracking intention, pressure, timing, the small gap between what someone says and what their behavior reveals. And this can be useful. It can make them perceptive, careful, emotionally precise, but it also comes with a cost. Because when your mind automatically reads the room, you do not get to simply be in the room. Part of you is always working. Part of you is always translating. That is why the bond with an animal can feel strangely relieving. Not because animals are pure and humans are fake. That would be too childish. But because many animals ask for fewer masks, fewer status games, fewer hidden meanings. For some intelligent people, animals are not a replacement for human connection. They are a break from human performance. And the first reason is simple. Animals do not make the intelligent mind work through 5 layers of social noise just to find the truth. Because with humans, the signal is rarely just the signal. A simple sentence can carry pressure. A casual look can carry judgment. A pause can mean nothing, or it can mean the whole atmosphere has changed. And highly intelligent people often feel that difference before they can explain it. They are not only hearing what someone says, they are reading the tone underneath it, the motive behind it, the status game around it, the quiet attempt to control the room without ever saying that control is happening. This can make them sharp. But it can also make ordinary conversation feel crowded. Not crowded with people, crowded with hidden meanings. Animals still have signals. They are not blank. They are not magically simple. A dog can be excited, scared, hungry, protective, jealous, tired, or unsure. A cat can be overstimulated, curious, distant, affectionate, irritated, or quietly attached. But the difference is that their signals often feel less political. There is less theater around the need, less pretending around the emotion, less performance between what is felt and what is shown. This is why being near an animal can feel like someone turned down the noise in the room, not because nothing is happening, but because fewer things are being disguised. Some research on pet ownership even points toward this kind of daily attention. Caring for an animal often requires reading cues, shifting attention, reacting quickly, and noticing small changes before they become bigger problems. So the relief is not only emotional, it is also cognitive. People make you decode the room. Animals let you read the moment. And for a mind that is always scanning, that difference can feel like rest. But the relief is not only that animals reduce social noise, it is also that they give the intelligent mind something honest to do. Because intelligent minds do not simply observe, they predict. They connect dots before other people even agree that dots are there. They notice the repeated pattern, the tiny shift, the thing that happened once, then twice, then became a clue. Around people, this ability can get punished. They may be told they are overthinking, too suspicious, too intense, reading too much into things, and sometimes, yes, they are. Intelligence does not make every interpretation correct, But often, what other people call overthinking is just fast pattern recognition with nowhere safe to land. With animals, that same ability becomes practical. You notice when the dog is not walking the same way. You remember the sound your cat makes when something is wrong. You sense when an animal is not just tired, but stressed. You learn the routine, the rhythm, the small behaviors that mean hunger, fear, pain, affection, boredom, or trust. Suddenly, the mind that was treated like a problem becomes useful. It becomes attention. It becomes memory. It becomes care. One study on pet ownership found associations with processing speed, attentional orienting, and memory for stories, especially among dog owners. That does not prove pets make people smarter, but it does suggest something important. Caring for an animal can become a real-world exercise in attention, memory, and prediction. Not a classroom kind of intelligence, a living kind, the kind that notices because something depends on it. With people, your pattern detection can feel like anxiety. With animals, it can become care. The same mind that gets accused of overthinking people may be unusually good at understanding animals. But intelligence alone is not the whole reason. The deeper reason is what animals do not ask you to perform. Many highly intelligent people can socialize. That is the part people misunderstand. They can speak well, work well, cooperate, be polite, read the room, say the appropriate thing, smile at the right moment, keep the conversation alive even when some part of them has already left it. The problem is not that they cannot perform. The problem is that performance has a cost. They spend so much of life adjusting the volume of themselves. Not too quiet, or people think something is wrong. Not too intense, or people pull away. Not too honest, or people get defensive. Not too analytical, or people feel examined. Not too detached, or people think they are cold. So they learn to edit themselves in real time. They soften the sentence. They hide the observation. They pretend the conversation is lighter than it feels. They make themselves easier to digest. And over time, that becomes exhausting. Around an animal, there is usually no need to be impressive. No need to prove intelligence. No need to win the room. No forced small talk. No fake enthusiasm. No explaining why silence feels better than noise. The animal does not ask you to become more entertaining before it accepts your presence. It does not need you to turn your inner life into a performance. And for someone who has spent years being too much, too quiet, too serious, or too hard to read, that can feel strangely merciful. Some people do not avoid connection. They avoid the version of connection that makes them abandon themselves. But this is where the story gets more complicated. Because the safer the bond feels, the easier it is to believe the animal understands everything. And this is where we need to be honest. Animals are intelligent. Dogs, especially, are remarkably sensitive to human emotion. They can learn from observation. They can read attention. They can respond to patterns in our voice, our body, our habits, and our mood. Anyone who has lived with an animal knows there are moments that feel almost impossible to explain. The way a dog comes closer when you are quiet. The way a cat appears when the house finally settles. The way an animal seems to know when something in you has changed before you say a word. But love has a strange effect on perception. Research on dog owners has found that the closer people feel emotionally to their dogs, the more likely they are to rate dogs as having higher mental abilities, understanding emotion, solving problems, noticing attention, and even engaging in deception. Many owners place a dog's mental ability higher than what scientific evidence usually suggests, and that does not mean those people are foolish. It means attachment changes what we hear in the signal. When something feels safe, we often experience it as deeper. When something does not judge us, we may start to believe it understands us completely. This is the mature truth. The animal may not understand every thought you have. It may not understand your childhood. It may not understand your private grief. It may not understand the entire architecture of your mind. But that does not make the bond fake. The animal may not understand you as completely as you imagine, but the safety you feel around it can still be completely real. Love does not always make us irrational, but it can make certain signals louder. So if the animal does not understand everything, why does the bond still feel so healing? Because sometimes healing does not begin with being fully understood. Sometimes it begins with not being humiliated for how deeply you feel. Highly intelligent people are often not only smart, they are aware. And awareness, when it has no safe place to go, can become lonely. They notice too much, then learn to hide the fact that they noticed. They sense the mood shift, then pretend they did not. They understand the subtext, then act as if the surface is enough. Because somewhere along the way, their sensitivity may have been treated like a defect. Too sensitive, too quiet, too intense, too analytical, too arrogant, too distant, too hard to understand. So they learn to make their awareness smaller. Not because they stop seeing, but because seeing too much can make other people uncomfortable. Around animals, close attention is not usually punished. You can notice the small appetite change, the different walk, the new sleeping place. The way the body tenses before fear becomes obvious. The way the eyes soften when trust appears. No one asks why you are paying so much attention. No one tells you to stop being so intense. No one makes your care look like a social mistake. The same sensitivity that made you feel strange around people becomes useful again. It becomes gentleness. It becomes protection. It becomes the ability to meet another living thing without forcing it to explain itself first. Around animals, the part of you that people called too much can finally become tenderness. And that is when the animal becomes more than comfort. It becomes a mirror. Because sometimes the animal is not only showing you who it is showing you who you are when you do not feel watched. There are intelligent people who believe they are cold because they have learned to stay controlled. They think they are detached because they do not open easily. They think they are distant because most environments make them guarded. But then an animal enters the room and something changes. They become patient, soft, playful, protective, loyal in quiet ways. They remember details no one asked them to remember. They speak in a voice they do not use with most people. They sit still longer than they thought they could. They care without needing to explain the care. And that matters, because it reveals that the problem was never that they lacked warmth. The problem may be that their warmth does not survive well in environments full of judgment, noise, and performance. The animal does not create a new self out of nowhere. It reveals a self that had been hiding under defense. This is why the bond can feel so personal. Not because the animal knows your whole story, but because around it, you may remember a version of yourself that life made you protect. The animal may not know your whole story, but it may reveal the part of you that still knows how to trust. So maybe the real question is not why you feel closer to animals. Maybe it is what kind of human connection made animals feel safer. So the lesson is not that animals are better than people. And it is not that intelligent people should retreat from the human world and only trust creatures that cannot argue back. That would be too easy. The real lesson is more useful. A highly intelligent mind often reads layers. It hears tone. It senses pressure. It notices when the surface of a conversation does not match the truth underneath it. That kind of mind can become tired in a world full of hidden meanings. Animals reduce some of that noise. They give the mind fewer masks to translate. They allow pattern detection to become care. They offer connection without asking for a performance first. And yes, love can make an animal feel wiser, deeper, and more understanding than it may actually be. But that does not erase the bond. It simply makes the bond human. So do not use your closeness with animals as proof that you are above people. Use it as information. Use it to understand what kind of connection your nervous system trusts. Maybe you do not need colder boundaries. Maybe you need calmer relationships, more honesty, less performance, less guessing, less decoding. A kind of human connection where your awareness is not treated like a threat, your silence is not treated like rejection, and your depth is not treated like a problem. Because maybe the animal did not understand every thought in your head, but it understood the part of you that was tired of being translated. If there is an animal that made your mind feel quiet for the first time, you can leave its name below. No explanation needed. Sometimes a name is enough. And if this video helped you understand yourself a little more, subscribe to Psyche-Life. This channel is for people who do not just want to live on the surface, but want to know themselves more honestly, more deeply, and with less shame.